In every generation, there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer. Also, in every generation, there is one who watches Buffy for the first time. He is the Hunter.
Yeah, that's right. I've just finished Buffy. What a hell of a show. I'm super excited to finish up here, guys. And welcome to Primetime. We are doing the Buffy Season 7 Part 2 ranking. I am so excited to get into this. Yeah, Chad, you want to explain how we do this?
Yeah, sure. We started this so long ago. With this channel, like on a different channel, Hunter, Carrie, and I were just like, hey, Carrie and I were like, there's this show that we love that's called Buffy, and Hunter knew of it, of course, but he had never seen it. And then we were like, why don't you watch it? We could just like talk about it. And then we came up with the format. How we do it is we just basically throw out an episode and we talk about it. We're going to do it a little bit differently here. We'll have Carrie start this time, as she always does with the very first episode that we're talking about. And then we'll continue in order and just kind of go through the slate in chronological order of how they were released. But this is the last episode of our series. Very happy about it, but sad about it. It's like it's come to an end, but we're also excited that Hunter finally has watched everything, and now, we can't wait to keep talking about it with him. And I want to do other Buffy stuff on the channel down the road, but for now, we are like finishing up this series. And so also how we do every time we bring up an episode, we give it a rating. So it's S, A, B, C, D a lot of the times. This one, we've kind of discussed it. We have a lot of like S episodes in this one. So we're going up to like 5 or 6. We're going to figure out how it works. Like if one person throws out an S and like another, at least 2 out of 3 agree that it should be S tier, then we would normally, keep that S tier, and then, we would just keep doing that until we have, as many as we want, but we'll keep it at a limit to around like 5 or 6. After that's pushing, not every episode can be S tier, even though every episode of Buffy is still a great episode of Buffy. But without further ado, Carrie, are you ready to bring up the first episode we're discussing?
Yes. We are discussing first episode 12 of season 7, Potential. So Buffy and Spike have a little boot camp for the potential slayers. In the meantime, Willow does a spell, finds out there's another potential in Sunnydale. Due to some doorway stuff, someone's hiding behind a door. Amanda's hiding behind a door that Dawn's in front of. Dawn thinks she is the potential slayer, and she this is like Dawn's journey as she thinks she's a potential slayer, is kind of like kicking butt, saving the day, saving Amanda, then realizes it's Amanda who's the potential, and very graciously kind of hands the mantle over, doesn't really say anything to anyone about it. And then at the end, there's like probably the best Xander moment in the entire series, where he has this very beautiful conversation with Dawn, because they're really the only two at this point normies in the core Buffy group. I mean, not really including the potentials. Just this like beautiful speech about their role and like that they're still like such a valuable part of saving the world and what they do. So because of that speech, and because I think this episode, I think we've seen this maturity from Dawn throughout the season, and it kind of caps off in this episode, her maturity and just how different she is, like the young woman that she's grown to become. For me, this is an S tier episode.
Perfect.
One of our S tier episodes.
Hunter.
On to me. All right, so Potential. I really love this episode. I have it in A tier, But I would be. This is the one that on my A tier. I would be gladly put up in the S tier. I think that speech by Xander at the end is super great because Dawn needs somebody to relate to, and ever since she came into the picture, Dawn that is, Xander has always been like her buddy, her best friend, like somebody that she could rely on to talk to, and for him to be the one to be like, hey, it's okay to be normal because we do the planning, we have an important role in the group. I think that was a smart decision. Um, I have it an A tier personally because there's so many episodes I have an S tier, but I would be okay with putting this one in S tier as well.
Yeah, I also, because I went through and I actually put these in whatever tier I wanted them to be in, and potential, I also have an S tier. Reason being is
awesome.
I actually rewatched a lot of this episode to prepare, and I was just like, I was getting a lot of feels from it. It was like, being upset and disappointed because I knew that Dawn wasn't going to end up being the potential. She had like this false sense of power. But what happens was when you get to the end of it, it becomes so powerful because even though she's not adorned with some sort of mysterious mystical power that the potentials are, she still uses her own inner power of, being this responsible young woman who can make her own decisions. And, right when she is at one of like the most disappointing moments of her life, she doesn't hesitate, like Carrie said, to step up and tell Amanda, like, you have this power now. She doesn't like get super jealous or anything like that. She has matured to such a level because beginning in the early stages in season 5, people were annoyed with Dawn a lot because she was so immature. She was like, screaming all the time and just, was a kid basically. And now we get to see her as a young woman making great decisions. And, when she steps up and tells Amanda, you have this power, it's just so amazing to see. And then Xander sees that, and then he notices that too, and Dawn, and sees that, while she's not special, she's extraordinary. And and he delivers that phenomenal speech. It's one of the greatest moments in the entire show. And I love it to death. And it's like that moment right there that makes it an S tier for me. But also some other moments I noticed was that this is when Andrew references Dragon Ball Z. And he says, because he's sitting there like, I've been the way of Vegeta, but now I'm going the way of Goku. And everybody leaves, and it's like, you're not coming with us, Andrew. Everybody leaves, and he's stuck there with Dawn. And then he's like, do you want to play Dragon Ball Z? And Austin walks away. Yep. So love that one.
All right, that goes into S tier. It's on to me.
Yes.
All right, next episode is The Killer in Me. This one is where Spike's chip is malfunctioning. So the team searches for a way to fix it. But also we have the relationship starting with Kennedy and Willow. And then when Kennedy kisses Willow, she turns into Warren from season 6 because, surprise, Amy from past seasons comes back and puts a hex on Willow to make her see pretty much her biggest regret, which was killing Warren. This was the first episode where I said, this is my S tier episode. I absolutely love this episode because it is, one, I love Willow as a character, and I love Willow-centric episodes. But not only that, you start to get a really good romance going on between her and Kennedy, which I actually like the character of Kennedy. I know a lot of people don't. But what really gets it to me is that ending where they're at the same exact location where Warren shoots Tara, and Tara, my God, I can't speak sometimes. Willow and the body of Warren has the gun, and she breaks down, and they're just like, that speech he gives about how I let her die. I did this. She puts all the blame on herself. And what's great is Kennedy just lets her speak and lets her talk and lets her emote that out. And then she starts being like, no, I'm here for you. I've got this, we're in this together. You didn't do anything wrong. And I like that they kind of had this kind of conclusion with the Tara and Willow relationship where Tara doesn't feel like she has to, close herself off from people because of what happened. Like, she can now start being happy with herself going forward. So that's why it's my S tier.
Nice, yeah. And by the way, I was not laughing at you. I was laughing because on paper, it's a very confusing kind of episode. But then when you actually watch it, it makes a lot of sense. But I do also love this episode. For me, it's only an A tier, but that's because I think there's so many strong episodes in this that are more S tier for me. But this is, like, I would say a high A tier. So yeah, some of the notes that I wrote are, we find out that Spike's chip is killing him, and then this episode he also gets it removed, which is a really big deal because it shows that Buffy is fully on the path of trusting Spike. So much so that there's a big thing that happened all the way back in season 4, where Spike got the chip implanted so he can't harm anybody that's human, that's not a demon or a vampire or anything like that. And they've relied on this so many times. It's been a plot point, like, when he can finally hit Buffy, it kind of became a thing where it was like, well, now there's something wrong with Buffy because he can hit her. And then now this whole big thing is being taken away, not just because, like, he got a soul and everything like that, but he's consistently, like, proven himself. Even when the first was trying to mess with him, he's proven himself to be a good man, not just a vampire, not just an evil thing, but a good man, just like what Angel is trying to prove, and has a whole series dedicated on trying to prove this. But Spike has grown throughout this whole show, and I love that they finally removed the chip, because I think that says a lot. And then Willow turning into Warren is really crazy, and it's kind of funny at times, especially when, like, Andrew's, like, touching her, like, are you real? Kind of a thing. People are scared, they don't know what's going on, and then you get kind of full villain Amy in this, which is sad the way they go with the character. But honestly, I find it really interesting too when I think back to season 1 of Buffy, when her mother was kind of like this, and then I'm like, she's kind of become her mother in a way. I don't know if you've ever thought about it like that, but she's coming kind of full circle, because she was so sweet in the beginning. And honestly, I think this is a character thing that Carrie doesn't like.
I don't like it.
But that's fair.
I do find it interesting. Now, the only other thing I wanted to discuss real quick was that Hunter really likes Kennedy. And we were talking about this, and I was
Pitchforks out, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I was like, the fans generally don't seem to be too high on Kennedy. And then I was watching this episode specifically after Willow Warren shows up with the gun, and then Kennedy kind of, like, talks to her. And it's such a sweet moment that I'm like, have I been wrong about Kennedy this whole time? And Hunter's, like, totally right. Like, she can be very sweet. But then we'll get into other episodes where I'm like, okay, now I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I remember why a not so fun character sometimes. That she's complex. She can be great and she can be not so great. So, but yeah, it's an A tier episode for me.
You said S tier, Hunter?
Yes.
I agree. I'm an S tier.
Ooh, okay.
I don't care how many episodes we have.
Yeah, let's not limit it. Whatever.
This is what I was thinking of anyways, as my S tier, as part of my S tier list. because I do think all the storylines in this are really great. Like you kind of have the comedic relief almost storyline with Giles. And you do kind of wonder, you're like thinking back, you're like, oh my God, did anyone touch Giles?
That's right.
No, I don't think so. It ended
Such,
on that.
such a funny joke.
Yeah, I think all the stuff with Willow in this, I think it does like help to bring a resolution to the Dark Willow storyline in a really a more concrete way. I think it's good that this was included rather than just kind of leaving it as like, okay, Willow comes home and the narwhal thing, and then everything else is fine. And I said narwhal. I don't narwhal.
The Gnarl, right?
The gnarl. Okay. I meant gnarl.
I was like, there's something in the episode.
And yeah,
I
do really like. I think Kennedy's really sweet, and I think she's good for Willow at this point in her life. But yeah, I think it's things mostly later in the season that people don't like Kennedy for. I never really felt that way. I think she's fine.
I do think there's a lot of people who hate Kennedy just because it's the case of
it's not Tara.
Yeah, it's not Tara, and you know how
you had 2 seasons with Tara. You only had like half a season with Willow and Kennedy as a thing. So I kind of see it not being that same level. But also, I think her as a character, I would say she's more like a Faith in a way where she kind of teeters on the balance between a Buffy and a Faith, where she cares, but she also has that attitude of like not really caring.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you have the whole thing with Tara, kind of the way that ended, and it would being like the first as well. But we have a first with Willow and Kennedy as well on the show. So
yeah, and oh shoot, I forgot what I was.
Sorry.
Because I think also in the entire series, like maybe besides Buffy, like Buffy and Angel and Buffy and Spike, Willow has like the best relationships in the entire show. Her and Oz, everyone loved that relationship. Her and Tara, everyone loved that relationship. And I think people just like want Willow to be with someone who treats her like she is like a complete goddess, and like, not that Kennedy doesn't do that. I think Kennedy treats her very well, but it's not like the same chemistry I think that she had with Oz or with Tara. It's like probably not, Kennedy's probably not the love of her life, she's just a girlfriend at the moment. And then the Spike storyline I really like as well. Like Buffy makes this big decision and decides to trust Spike, and I think if I remember correctly, you don't actually learn what her decision was until the next episode, which was really cool.
True. Yeah. Because she has to tell Giles. So the line is, so I take all these girls out on a retreat, and you think I'm evil because I didn't try and touch them?
Didn't try to touch them.
I really do. I think for me, the best part of this episode is the Kennedy and Willow stuff, actually, and the way that Kennedy is able to ground Willow and bring her back to herself. I will briefly say, Amy, if you watch the episode where Amy turns into a rat, this is the last time we see Amy as a human being. She is nice. She's into witchcraft, but she's very, very nice. And like normal, still likes hanging out with her dad and stuff. And then all of a sudden she wakes up as a human being in season 6 and is like completely different, pretty mean. I mean, I guess you would be that way after being a rat a little bit, but she also knows, all of a sudden she knows all these like dark magic people in the Sunnydale magic underground. And I'm just like, that is not the same character as in season 3, and you did not do any work to get her. She was a rat the whole time. She couldn't have had all this character development. So anyways, it annoys me.
Probably could have had, like you said, with the rat, like the getting mean and it manifesting, but I do understand like the not having the connections type of thing. That's just what they needed her to make in the moment.
Yeah, and I don't like that, like, I don't know. I think a lot of the strength of that Amy's first episode back in season 1 is that she's not her mom. and then in the early seasons she does learn to use witchcraft, but in like a nicer way.
Mhm.
And then I don't like that we undo all of that later on.
Maybe this isn't an S tier for you. I'm just kidding.
It is an S tier.
kidding,
The
just
Amy
kidding.
stuff is mostly like dating back to season 6. They already made that choice
Mhm.
and everything. So anyways,
All right, so the killer in me is in S tier. Let's move on to Chad.
Yep. So I'm talking about First Date. This is where we find out that Spike's chip was taken out because they're faced with a decision at the very end, I think, of the episode. And Buffy tells Giles about it. He's not happy, and they're having the whole moral thing. And this is a plot line that keeps going on about Giles not trusting Spike and Buffy trusting him like wholeheartedly, like I need a soldier kind of a deal. And he's good now. He's like a good man now. And that will keep going on. Xander meets a girl. He's trying to, I guess, get over his Anya stuff. He meets a girl. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's gonna end up really nice for him, as always.
Of course.
He's not a demon magnet or anything like that. And then Buffy is going out on a date with Robin Wood. And then we start to learn more things about him. We've already seen him with a shovel. He apparently buried Jonathan. We know he saw Jonathan's body. We know, he is not a normal principal. We might find out later that he's cooler than Snyder, but he's shifty. We don't know much about him. We find out after he meets with Buffy that he has a weapons cache. Just right in his principal's office, got a whole wall of weapons underneath a chalkboard or a whiteboard. Andrew sets the clock on a microwave in this episode. Good for him.
Good for him.
But then the first shows up, tells him he doesn't need a manual for that, and then also tells him he should kill all the potentials. Why not? Robin already knows about the Slayer. So when they have their date, he says he knows about her, and then he says his mother was a Slayer before him. And then you kind of can gather who his mother might be. And then they have Andrew wear a wire to talk to the first, which is really fun to see. That Andrew is trying to be better. He's trying to be good. He's like, I'm on Team Goku now. I'm no longer Vegeta or Frieza or any of the bad ones. I'm on the good side now. Robin learns that Spike killed his mother. So this is starting to heat up where he's hot on the trail, and then this becomes a whole big thing later. The Chinese Slayer is not understood by anybody. In fact, I believe Giles draws some very graphic.
The drawings are so fucking funny.
Try and just show her what might happen.
They're like, really? You showed her that particular drawing?
Yeah, I think she understands a lot more than they think she does, but because there's a big, language gap, I don't know. Today's times, it might not, be as funny. I don't know, but I still think it's kind of funny. It's just a big language gap, and that joke goes on. I think it's just this episode actually, but it's pretty funny. I think. Overall, I don't know. I actually put this in B tier, but as I was reading through, I'm like, I think this is kind of fun, so I'll put it in A tier. But if it dips down to B tier, that's fine. I think there's a lot of great stuff in this. We learn a lot. So, and there's some fun Andrew moments. So, those ghosts or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay. Woo.
So I don't think Chad mentioned the woman that Xander meets, goes on a date with, and turns out to be a demon is singer Ashanti.
Ashanti, that's right. I was gonna say Aaliyah. I would have been wrong.
You would have been wrong. It's Ashanti. I don't know if she had Well, she was also in John Tucker Must Die, I think.
Was Aaliyah the Queen of the Damned?
Aaliyah was the Queen
Okay.
of the Damned. And I loved a good Ashanti song back in the day, and I still do.
Okay.
She's great.
This is one of those moments where like they were in season 7, like famous people wanted to be in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so they had certain cameos like that. So
I'm not even sure. I think she just like wanted to get into acting, and like this was a role that she got. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I think I agree with A tier with this one. I think it's a pretty solid episode. I think it's fun to have like one last episode where Xander dates a demon. Like I just love it for that. And like Chad said, there's some good Andrew moments in here as well. I like that we learned so much more about Principal Wood. I think that part is really great as well. So yeah, what do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, I also have this in A tier. It was a really cool misdirect, though, because throughout most of the season, I was expecting him to be working with the first, almost like a Snyder was. I was like, oh, they're doing this kind of mirroring of previous seasons, but then to find out that no, he's got all this stuff because he's the son of a Slayer, so he's not really a Slayer, but he fights monsters and vampires and things like that. Pretty much being this the Buffy versus Blade, which I appreciate. Down to even like avenging his mother over a vampire, which I think is awesome. I also had this at A tier. It's a really fun episode, but it doesn't do enough to like progress the overarching story, I feel like, but it's still like a really fun episode. And I love that Xander brought that, hey, maybe it is a monster, just like they keep getting attracted to me, which is a very funny running joke.
For sure. All right. Who's next? Carrie?
I think it's me. So the next episode is Get It Done, where we learn even more about Wood and his mother, who was the Slayer. He pulls out a bunch of stuff that apparently was supposed to be handed down to the next Slayers, and Wood was just like, I just hung on to it,
I'm just going to keep it.
You know what? His mom died, so he gets to keep her stuff. That's fine. And Spike stole
pass.
This is a really cool episode. He has part of what he has is like this like shadow box thing, and it like creates a story on the walls. It's so spooky. A portal opens up, a demon comes out. And Buffy, like, I think trades places with the demon. She goes back in time to see how the first Slayer was created. And in the meantime, Spike gets out the leather coat and returns to himself and goes and kills the demon, brings him back to trade Buffy back.
That line was great, though. It was like, which was like, where'd you get the jacket? New York, and just walks right past him.
Oh, I remember like just getting the icky, like secondhand embarrassment kind of, because you're like, that's Wood's mom. You don't know that's like, oh, that's so cringy. Like to just be, I don't know. I was like,
does Spike know? I don't know if he.
No, Spike does not know.
I mean,
at that point.
He doesn't know Robin is her son, but he sure knows Gil.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he realized that Nikki Wood had a son.
Right.
So I was thinking about this originally as S tier, but then I kind of read the full description of the episode, and I'm thinking more like A tier, but if you guys put it in S tier, I won't be mad at that, but I'm going A tier.
Is it on to me or?
Yes, it is you.
All right, so I also have this in A tier. I feel like it's a very interesting episode. I do like that we get to learn more about Wood and more about his mom. We get to see the cool flashback with him and his mom. I think it's this episode. It might be the next episode where we get to see her actually like fighting, and then you see that Wood's off behind a bench hiding, and you get to see like a really cool young Spike, which I believe we saw the end of that fight in one of the previous seasons, correct?
Yeah, we saw it in season 5. I think that scene is in
Lies My Parents
Lies My
Told Me. We'll
Parents
get to
Told
it.
Me.
Yeah.
It all does kind of run. A lot of these episodes, honestly, just kind of start to run together. But
Yeah,
anyways.
which I can't wait to like rewatch this show and then get all the Easter eggs going forward to see like how many of the stuff actually ties into the last season. It's probably a lot that I missed. But yeah, A tier for me. It's a very cool episode. We get to learn more about Wood as a character, which I actually really love him. So yeah, A tier for me.
Yeah, I'm right on board with A tier. It's a very high A tier. If this season wasn't jam packed with so many S, I would have probably given it an S tier. But yeah, I love that Robin passes off the bag, and it has the thing that transports them. Oh, there's a great Andrew line. Where the hell have you been? This funnel cake has been kicking my ass. I just love how it just shows up, and then Wood's confused. He's like, "Who the hell's that?" And then Buffy's like,
our hostage.
"Yeah," but he's like,
Hostage.
"He's our hostage." I mean, he killed a bunch of people. Now he bakes. It's a thing. And
Here's the thing. He goes, I'm not really a hostage. I'm a guestage.
Guestage. That's right. That's right. I almost put that in my notes.
God, he's so great.
And then Andrew, first Willow declares that Robin is cooler than Snyder. After he sees them all fighting and stuff in the back, like training the potentials, and Willow shows up with a bunch of weapons, and
she fumbles. She's like, "Thank God you don't know."
She's trying to figure out how to explain what they're doing, and then Buffy's like, "Don't worry, he knows everything." And she's like, "Oh, thank God." She's like, I don't know how the hell I was going to explain these weapons. So I had nothing. And then Andrew reveals that he made a big board. So he has a big whiteboard that has all the events on it, and characters and big players and stuff. It's actually very cool and very useful. He uses it a lot later. One moment is that Chloe, who I believe was from Lizzie McGuire, the actress.
Yes.
Chloe.
Oh my God, she was.
Yes. She's the friend, Miranda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, Miranda.
Chloe kills herself. It's starting to get a little real. We've already had some potentials die and stuff, but I think this might have been the first one that just killed themselves.
It's the only one who says that.
And it's just like, yeah, I just meant like the first time and maybe only time. And Chloe, people are upset, and then Buffy shows up and is like, Chloe was stupid. She was an idiot. She was weak. And
I don't know if I like that speech as much watching the first time. I'm like, I get it, the world is ending, but come on, you just saw somebody like hanging from their ceiling. You got to give them a time to breathe.
I think that's kind of the point, is that Buffy is now grown into a person that considers herself a leader. There's no time to wait. And I think her approach, while harsh and strong, I think makes sense for her, because she's like, if people start like getting like doubts in their heads and think that, they could just take the easy way out, well, I can't let them know it's not all rainbows and puppies. This is ugly. People are going to die. And, anyone who's just going to kill themselves like that is just weak. And of course, I want to say, in real life, that's not the case. This is a fictitious show with a big battle, and they're going to go battle and stuff like that. And they're treating it more like a military now in the season. And that's why Buffy
I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry for interrupting you, but was it that Chloe killed herself because she was scared of the battle, or was it because the first got in her head?
It's because the first gets in her head. I think they make that pretty clear.
Yeah. So
I was distracted during that section a little bit, so I didn't get to see what it was. So if that's the case, then you would think that like I guess they have no idea why she did it.
Right.
So I guess that's why Buffy goes off like that. But it's kind of weird that the leader is just like, well, let's move on from that. Like, one down, let's go to the rest.
But then again, well, Carrie, you're going to say something?
Yeah, well, I think it's done purposefully because a lot of issues that come up this season is that Buffy is maybe not being the most effective leader here and is not really connecting with the potentials. And I think this is contributing. This is one of the things that contributes to the tension, right? Is like one of the potentials, they're kind of just thrown into the situation, does this, and instead of kind of being like compassionate or under like anything like that, Buffy's like kind of really being very harsh, and that's what Buffy thinks she needs to do. But I think this season does a good job of highlighting like Buffy's fantastic, and maybe she's the best leader, but I think her leadership isn't without like being subject to criticism, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly, I think it's a very complex season in the way that things happen. People make choices that they think is right in the moment. And you as a fan can decide like what side you're on. Do you think Buffy's making a good decision? Do you think, while calling Chloe an idiot, is harsh, do you think that's the right thing to do to get in people's minds that, they need to keep their focus on the game? And if you let doubt, if you let anything get in your head, the first will take you over, and just like evil will get in there and will make you doubt and, make you a less effective soldier and stuff like that. Yeah. Or you could be on the side of, Kennedy and Xander and all the people who stand up to Buffy in that moment and are like, you're out of line. We're trying to like grieve right now over this person that we love that, we just lost, and stuff. So there's kind of like two sides to the coin, and Buffy's just like on the one here. And like Harry said, she feels like she needs to be that, and it just creates so much tension, and we get a lot of really great stuff later on because of it. But I feel like this is the first like instance of it where we start to see tension building. And I think it's a great moment because of that. Like I said, Kennedy stands up to her, and I think some of these moments with Kennedy where she's trying to take almost like a sub leadership role, because she's the one like training the potentials, calling them maggots and stuff like that, like you would actually do if you didn't and whatnot. She's like, I love this job. Like you said, she's more of a faith. She started to stand up and like says things like you're out of line and stuff like that. And I could see that turning some people off. Like you're so new here, Kennedy. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Let other people step in and
I think Carrie agrees with that.
Yeah. I think that's primarily people's issue with Kennedy.
Yeah. If Buffy needs to be criticized, let a senior veteran do it instead of some first, I don't know, lieutenant, whatever the to go up the chain of command, Kennedy. And then I didn't even get to the part that I really love, which is the shadow stuff.
You're fine. Are we frozen for you?
You were frozen a little bit, but that might have been on my end.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. But I haven't talked about really yet about the shadow dimension that she goes to with the Shadow Men, where like Carrie said, or you said it right. Hunter said it. I think. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Who goes back in time, and she runs into these people, and then she finds out more about the history of it, and she finds out that the men kind of like forced this on, like the elders forced this on this young girl. And as she finds that out, she realizes that they're about to put this like demon energy inside of her, and it's going to make her less human, going to make her more demon, but it'll make her more powerful. And she wisely denies this and says, I do not want that. You just like, forced yourself on this girl, and took away her agency and her power. And then Buffy, as she's grown this whole show, reasserts, and subverts everyone's expectations and says, no, I'm not going to do that. You're done. I'm not listening to you. She did that with the Watchers Council. She does that with Giles. She does that with these people. And she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing my own thing. And I don't know. I love that moment. I think that's great. I love the Spike killing the demon, swishing his coat, and just breaking the neck of that demon. He's so badass in this, and I love it. That's all I had.
Yeah.
All right. So let's.
Oh, no. The one last thing. The Shadow Men inform Buffy of something. How many Uber vamps they're going to have to face? How many Turok Khan they're going to have to face?
Oh, right.
A crazy jump scare that happens where, it's like, I learned something. And then you see a sea of Turok Khan and you're like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah, it seems
that
very
was such a great
that moment.
Oh yeah, that was a great shot because it looked like a Lord of the Rings shot where it was like, like on the mountain and you see like this big army surrounding you. You're just like, that's a badass shot.
Yeah. All right.
Let's move on to the next episode. Is it on Carrie?
No, it's on you.
Oh, me. All right, episode 16, Storyteller. Andrew attempts to document the life and works of Buffy, much to the annoyance of Buffy. Meanwhile, the students at Sunnydale begin exhibiting signs of going to school above the Hellmouth, signs that Buffy has seen before. And then Buffy and Principal Wood discover the seal of Balthazar is caused and set to find its way to... and my God, sometimes talking is hard. They find a way to try to stop it. So, Storyteller. I have this one actually in S tier. And it's because of the ending. I think that was the most powerful Andrew moment I've seen where he finally gets to realize, this is what I become. I'm a monster who... Because throughout this episode, he keeps making excuses and changing his story about what really happened when he killed Jonathan. And I love it at the end. He's crying. He's like, because Buffy thinks that Buffy's going to kill him because he needs the blood to open up the portal. And he's like, no, I killed my best friend. That was me. And you can see this kind of, empathy that I haven't really seen in that character before. And I really, really love that. So for that reason, I have it in S tier. Plus, I think using the video camera and how annoyed everybody gets, and the Spike moment where he hates it, and then they're like practicing, and they're like, "All right, so the light behind you is gone. Can you redo it? Okay, let's do it again." He just starts back and redoes it.
Get that camera out of my face.
S tier for me.
Yeah. Oh, hello, gentle viewers. Isn't it nice to get lost in a story? How it can take you away? This is definitely an S tier episode. We've been telling Hunter for a while, since beginning of season 6, that Andrew is at least one of my favorite characters. I think for Carrie as well. I don't want to speak for her. Yeah, okay. And my our mutual friend Meredith also really loves Andrew as well. So I love talking about him with people because season 6, not as much, sort of, because he's very, very funny in season 6. But season 7 does a lot of work to build up Andrew as just a really complex but really great character at the end of the day. He's so funny. He had so much levity to the season that people were like, it's missing now after season 5. It's dark. It's too dark now. Well, Andrew, if we didn't have him in season 7, I think it's a lot darker and a lot less funny. And he just really brings it in this. So with my notes, Andrew is trying to document Buffy and her adventures. and then I have some of the speech. So because he's filming it, and you get to see a shot of like what he's trying to film. I guess it's in what it is in his mind that he's actually filming.
Mhm.
That is like Buffy like pouring Wheaties and her hair flowing. Anya comes in just like eating grapes, really, lavishly, and just like
One of the funniest jokes is like he pans over to one of the potentials. He goes, "I don't know your name, but she's cool too."
Yeah. So I have the speech. He says, "You've already met Buffy. She's beautiful with a lion's heart and the face of an angel. She's never afraid because she knows her side will always win. Buffy and Spike have some kind of history. You can feel the heat between them. Although, technically, as a vampire, he's room temperature. Anya," that's one of my favorite lines, he's room temperature. "Anya, what is it, a reality waif?" I might have wrote this wrong. "With a fiery temper and a vulnerable heart that she hides even from herself. This lovely girl, I don't remember her name." and then yeah, Spike acting in front of the camera for Andrew. Andrew, and then so you have a lot some Xander Anya moments where they're still talking about the breakup and the wedding, and
Mhm.
I like this moment because I had disagreements, I think, on here and outside of the show, where we talk about like the Xander leaving Anya at the altar, but like how complex that story it was,
Mhm.
because they were having doubts all the way at the beginning of like once more feeling, and then it kind of evolves into this whole complex relationship that they have post breakup, and they're talking, and then Anya's like, "Well, it was a mistake," and Xander was like, "It wasn't a mistake," and I like how he confirms that, where it's like he's like, "I'm sorry how it happened, but it wasn't a mistake because I don't think that it would have worked out," and I'm glad that he kind of stuck to his guns on that. But because of this, we get a brilliant moment where they're sharing a nice, beautiful moment with each other. And we think it's happening kind of live, but then we look at it and Andrew's watching the tape that he recorded.
He's wilding it back.
He's only mouthing Anya's words.
Anya's words. Yes.
It's just really funny.
So
and then
funny.
and then some great Andrew quotes that I wrote down. "Can I have a nice, cold, refreshing Zima?" Which used to apparently be like a nice alcoholic beverage that I don't think they really make anymore.
Yeah, I've never.
And I kind of
never heard them. So
try one, but I don't know if I ever will. "We are gods," and then like they're sitting there playing in the fields. We are
song.
And then it's like Andrew, go back to that one moment. You mean this moment? "We are gods."
We are gods.
No,
Play it again.
And then he's talking about like how they were developing their plans back when they were the trio, and he's talking about like making Buffy really magnetic. And then Warren's like, "Won't our belts fly at her or something like that?" And he's like, "In my plan, we are beltless." And
Beltless.
that line. And then Andrew ships Robin and Spike. When he does not know anything about them like this, but he ships them, and he says they have sexual tension you can cut with a knife. And so he ships them before Tumblr was even ever a thing. And then Andrew is told that life's not a story, and then he must take responsibility for what he did. And I love that they take that, the storyteller, he's always telling stories, trying to make Buffy and everybody's life into a story. And then you see how he takes that so far that he ends up telling himself stories to hide from what he did to Jonathan, and tries to tell him that no, it was the first did it, or the first took me over and made me do it, and he has these funny scenes like Hunter said of him doing it in different ways, and then he has to admit to himself that he did a bad thing, and that he needs to earn that back. And then when he cries on the Seal of Danzelthar, I think is so beautiful. Like Hunter said, I'm glad he brought that up like first, because that's the best part of the episode, and that's why this is easily an S tier. because I love Andrew, and I just think it's such a phenomenally written thing. And there's one moment also where Robin almost stabbed Spike, and then he gets tackled.
Oh yeah,
so it's
in the
heating up.
school. Yep.
Carrie?
Yeah, S tier for me. I think this is one of the funniest episodes of Buffy. Is this also? I think the only thing we didn't mention, I just can't remember if it's in this episode. Is this where they're kind of start making fun of how many speeches Buffy gives?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
yes.
he starts to give a speech, and then Andrew's like,
he points the camera.
We'll come back here in a little bit. And I'm sitting there trying to pay attention what she's saying, and then what she's saying when he comes back, and it's just funny that they purposely cut that off.
Yep, still going. Hands back.
Yeah, I think I remember when I first watched this, I didn't really think about that, but then when I saw that part, I was like, yeah, Buffy has been giving a lot of speeches this season.
So many speeches.
Yeah.
They do a whole meta thing. It's funny.
Yeah, it definitely kind of colors my rewatch, especially of season 7 now. I'm kind of like, okay, here's another Buffy speech.
But it's funny that they poke fun at it. And there's one more Andrew thing that I don't know if it's in this episode, but it is similar to him videoing and stuff. And it's the time when I think Willow and Kennedy are kissing or whatever, and he's zooming in. You think he's zooming in on them kissing or whatever, or is it Anya and Xander? I can't remember who it is, but you think he might be watching them, and then he's looking at Xander's window, carpentry. He's like, look at the beautiful work Xander does. It's amazing. Andrew's the best.
So good.
All right.
So good. All right, so let's move on.
2 lies my parents told me. And this one, I fucking love. This is also an S tier for me. Because, I don't know, I just love all the stuff with Robin and Spike, I think is just amazing. This is when we do start the episode we see Robin's mom with her little boy. It's a really great scene. And that cuts to Robin fighting. And then he sees the real Spike when Spike gets triggered. Very important because it confirms his suspicion that Spike's still a demon and Spike's still something to kill instead of a person that made a mistake when they were something different. And of course, this is something Robin can never get over, is the fact that someone killed his mother. Spike tells them about how he sired and killed his mother. So we get all the stuff with, Drusilla siring Spike, and Spike then trying to turn his mother because he loves his mother and he wants them to be together. But then his mother turns into something else. There's a demon possessing her, basically, because that's what happens when you become a vampire. And I guess people have it different kinds of ways. I don't know. It gets a little confusing. Because at one point, Spike's you've never met the real Spike. It's shit, we haven't? We've met a lot of Spike this whole show. But I think that's really cool when they bring that up, and it's no, there's something extra you haven't even met. I've been more vicious. I'm a monster. But yeah, I love this whole stuff. We get stuff in the past. Spike tells them about Early One Morning, which is the song that we heard the first singing, and we learned that it's a bit of a trigger for Spike. But Spike doesn't know that it's a trigger for him yet, right? Or does he?
Don't know.
I don't think he does. And this is where I think Robin kind of finds it out. Giles distracts Buffy while Robin tries to kill Spike, and I wrote in my notes like a coward, because that's the only way that he can do it is to trigger him with a song and trap him in this room with a bunch of crosses.
In a shed full of crucifixes.
Yeah, it just feels so really, dude. If you're gonna die trying to kill this vicious creature that you're not even a slayer or anything like that or powerful, try to trap them like that and get someone else to distract, and I don't know, just feels weird. And then Spike informs Robin that his mother loved him. That Spike tells Robin that his mother loved him, but Robin's mother didn't love him. And he's like, unlike you, my mother loved me back, which I thought was a cold-blooded line. But it's like she fought and died, instead of being there for him. It's very cold-blooded. But he turned his mother into a demon and had to kill her. But then that song triggered him because he could never get over that. And this is finally the moment that he realizes that his mother was gone the moment that he sired her, and that, the demon took her, and that he was holding on to this baggage for so long. And then Spike spares Robin on account of that, he killed his mother. But then he shows everybody with this.
I love that line.
Yeah, he shows everybody with that act that he's a human being despite not having the chip. And then two amazing episode ending lines. We get one that could have ended the episode with "the mission is what matters." That could have ended the episode right there. But then we get an extra scene of Buffy and Giles talking, where she gets to tell Giles that Spike is alive and that he has nothing else to teach her. She says, I think, because he's like, you need to learn, Buffy. And she goes, I think you taught me everything I need to know. Door shut. And then I wrote, Buffy ain't got time for this shit. I understand, like, Buffy's getting really, like, hard lines, strict, like, I don't got time for this. We're fighting a war, and she's becoming like hardened leader. But that's kind of what I feel like she needs to be, and she feels like she needs to be. But I think this is such a brilliant episode. I love it to death, and I always think about this one when I think of season 7.
Carrie?
Sorry. Oh, she's thinking about where to place this. Okay.
I used to really love this episode, and I still love most of it. I really, really hate that the writers of the show had Giles basically betray Buffy like this. And then I think Buffy is right to kind of be like you fucked up. But I hate it. They were so close, and because I think back to episodes in season 3 where she forgives him for letting her go through that really awful test and stuff, and just how close they were, and I don't know, I hate that in the very last season, towards the end, they're like, okay, we're just gonna have Giles do this thing that's it's relatively in character for him. He kind of did similar stuff with Angel. It's within character for him to do, and it's within character for Buffy to react the way she reacts. But I hate that they did it. I really hate. I feel like they could have had someone else do something, or could have had this just been Robin. I don't know why they felt the need to be like, oh, we're gonna use Spike to turn Buffy against Giles. I just hate that they made this writing choice. So I gotta say that is the one thing I don't really like about this episode anymore on rewatch. So I'm gonna give this one an A tier.
Okay.
I just, because I think it is in character for Giles, like you said. I think it just makes sense where Spike is Buffy's champion, and they have this whole thing. She's always kind of straddled that line between her friends and her vampires. When she had to hide Angel when he came back and stuff like that. So I totally see where you're coming from. So I think where the thing is, I think the power of it just hit so hard for me that I'm fine with the character choice. But I do understand why it's more of a bitter moment. Because it definitely is. It's hard to watch, but it's also I don't know. It's just such a cool moment that I'm like, shit, dude, it's getting real. Okay, Hunter, sorry.
So I definitely see what Carrie's saying, and I'm not, trying to take her point away from her because it is valid. But the way I saw it is like Giles has never liked Spike to begin with. Even when he was like slowly, being a part of the group, he never fully trusted Spike.
He was his father at one point.
Yeah. Yep. But the way I see it is like Giles made a decision that Buffy this season would have made if the roles were reversed. Because Buffy has always been about the mission first. I think that's what Giles is thinking. It's like, can we actually trust Spike on the battlefield now that he doesn't have the chip holding him back? He still has that doubt of like, I do not want to go to war with somebody that I don't know what he's capable of. If he snaps one moment, just decides to kill us all.
Yeah,
so it's that balance of like Buffy has to make tough calls this season as well, and she comes off kind of an asshole as well. But it's that balance of like we're in like a world-ending war. Like we have to find that balance of like things we have to do and things that we don't want to do, but we have to do.
Yeah, and also like Giles has kind of just been like gone for a long time. So him coming back, he doesn't have that same relationship and familiarity with Spike that Buffy does. And Buffy has such a close relationship with him that she sees the humanity in him, and Giles doesn't.
But also, on my second rewatch, I could feel differently. I don't know. I only have that this first watch like under my belt, so it could definitely change. But right now, I see kind of where it's like Buffy and Giles are on kind of the same side where they're like, we have to think of the mission first. And I think it's just kind of this teeter-totter of like, what links will you go to take out a threat, even though you know that they aren't a threat yet?
And the thing too is Carrie's seen this so many times, and she said she just had kind of a heart change recently. So this is a show that evolves in your head every time you watch it. So very interesting points, and that's why I love like we're all kind of feeling a little differently about stuff in this season because it's very complex. Arthur, did you have any more about this episode, and what would you give it?
I really love this episode. This episode balances like drama and comedy really well. And the comedy comes from Giles trying to keep Buffy distracted with this one vampire. And he's like, don't stake him just yet. Keep going. And the funniest moment, she was like, Giles, I am in the fight of my life. And he just goes, really? No, not you. I'm sorry, but not you. It's so funny. He was so proud for one moment, and then that got taken away. This is an S tier for me. I love the kind of the trapping of Spike, and at the end of this episode, it shows that Spike, even without the chip, he's not going to harm somebody he's working with because he spares Woods. He even goes, I'm sparing him this once because I killed his mother. Next time he does it, I'm not going to hold back.
And the
line, Buffy has the best line of the episode where she goes, next time you do that, he will kill you. And he laughs. She goes, and I won't stop him.
Yep, I'll let him.
Oh, my God. Like that was such a mic drop moment.
She's like, I don't got time for personal vendettas. The mission is
yes.
Oh, man.
So that's good. Crazy. So S tier for me.
All right. So that one we got as an S tier. So we currently have 4 S tiers. Normally we only limit it to like 2 or 3, and now we're like we're going crazy. This is the last episode. We don't give a shit.
There's definitely more S tiers in this. Yeah. I'll bring up the next episode, which is Dirty Girls, a little play on the faith-centric episode from season 3. I think Bad Girls. I think that's what it's called.
I didn't catch that. Nice.
And it is our return of Faith. She has gone through quite a few changes since we last saw her on Buffy. She is now like she's reformed. She's a good girl, mostly. She's a good girl
Mostly.
to be. So Faith returns. That's really fun. And this is when we meet Caleb, Nathan Fillion, who is the priest. This is where I know Nathan Fillion from.
Yeah. We wouldn't get into
Firefly
later.
Yeah.
Great show though. Maybe
and
Firefly is one we could do another time, maybe.
And my mom really loved Castle.
Oh yeah, she did.
Right. Anyway, so Caleb is the priest, and he is evil, and powerful and strong. Basically, everyone, all Buffy and Faith, 2 Slayers, all the potentials, and then everyone else in the group, Xander and Willow, all go to fight Caleb, and they all lose. It's horrible. I remember watching this for the first time, and because throughout this series, this is the first, and spoiler, the only time I would say there's a core 4 here, right? It's Buffy, Xander, right, Willow, and Giles, and none of them has ever been harmed in a way that is irrevocable, at least physically. And I remember thinking there's no hope, they're not gonna win, and but just being overall very sad about Xander and his poor little Xander eye. And some of the potentials die. I mean, this is just a bloodbath, and then Buffy's just wandering the streets aimlessly at the end. This is a really good episode. I am gonna put it A tier. Just because I think there are other episodes I would like to save for more S tier. But it is a really good episode. I think it did something brave by, I think the writers knew they couldn't go to the extreme of killing one of those core 4, but it did kind of the next thing it could do to show that there are real stakes here.
Mm-hmm. Is it on to me or is it on the chat?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so Dirty Girls, I also have an A tier. I think the battle at the vineyard was awesome. I like how they just kind of full force just went for it. I also love Nathan Fillion just as an actor. I think he's an awesome actor. What's really cool is the introduction to Caleb as a character, I think, was menacing, where he picks up this hitchhiker and you're like, oh, it's a priest. He's supposed to be good. Nope. Just fucking stabs her and then rolls her out the fucking car. You're like, God damn. What a way to introduce somebody as kind of your evil vessel in this way, which is a very smart thing to do. Xander loses an eye in that battle, which is fucking gruesome. Because you actually see the thumb go into the eye. Mm-hmm. I really like this episode, so I'm putting it in A tier as well.
Yeah, this is also an A tier for me. I agree. I do like it a lot. That in battle is really crazy. You get he kills a potential, and then one of them, I think it's Annabelle, goes, no, and then he goes, yes. Really excited about it. Oh yeah, this is happening right now. He just fucks everybody up, maims Xander, takes his eye out. You're the one who sees everything, huh? Mm-hmm. And then takes away part of his ability to see. I said at the beginning, Xander has a fantasy dream, which is kind of funny. And then Faith shows up, and then Faith at one point goes about Buffy. She goes, "Are you the bad Slayer now? Am I the good Slayer?" And then
she has one of my favorite lines to Dawn, where she's like, "Oh look, little brat has grown up," or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she also at one point steals Andrew's hot pocket.
She just walks across the screen with it.
You stole my hot pocket. It has my name on it. And then when Buffy's trying to explain like that Spike has a soul now, I think she's like, kind of like Angel. And then Spike goes, I am nothing like Angel. Like, he does not want that comparison. And then Andrew does
That's
his
gotta be
whole...
a meta joke, right?
Well, it's just like Spike just does not want to be compared to Angel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And then Andrew does his whole intro thing for Faith this time. And he goes, she wrapped evil around her like a large evil Mexican serape. Which is great. And then also he's still making up stories a little bit. Like, he's not gonna stop. And so she has a whole thing where he talks about Faith fought a Vulcan. So she's fighting.
Oh my god!
At one point, and then it's like, didn't she kill a volcanologist?
Just the study of Vulcans.
Yep, you study Vulcans. And then there's a great conversation between Faith and Spike. They're both kind of like outcasts, so it makes sense that they would get along pretty well, even though much later they won't always get along. And then there's one point where one of the potentials, I think it's Amanda, is like something about Godzilla and how it relates to this.
He's stuck in Japan, so
yeah, and Amanda goes, well, if Matthew Broderick could kill Godzilla, and then Andrew goes,
Xander gets so offended.
He goes, Xander, and then Xander goes, Matthew Broderick did not kill Godzilla. He killed some giant
lizard
thing. It's not that's not the real Godzilla. And then this is one of the big moments where I'm like, this is a big turnoff for Kennedy being a likable character to fans, is that Xander says that he wants to tell the potentials something about Buffy and that they should all listen. And it's that Buffy has earned their trust because of everything that she's done for them. It's died for them and stuff like that. So she should be trusted. And then Kennedy opens her mouth to say, we kind of were listening. And then I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Kennedy. Shut up, Kennedy. But so yeah, it's just like she means well, but like she's got that very confrontational energy to her that, like, come on, man. But yeah, and then you have the, we already talked about the showdown, and it's really crazy. But yeah, it's an A tier to me as well.
All right, so now we move on to, is it Chad or is it me? I keep forgetting.
It's you.
Correct.
It's me.
Yeah.
All right, so episode 19, Empty Places. Buffy and the gang attempt to recover from the result of the attack on Caleb in various ways. Faith takes the potentials out for a night at the Bronze. This is where you have also Giles and Willow hunting down information on Caleb. And then you have the great Spike and Andrew road trip, which has so many funny moments, including a bloomin' onion joke that gets me every freaking time I watch. I watch it like 2 times right now. But this is actually, I believe I have this. Yes, this is one of my S tiers. Some people may not agree, but it really comes down to the ending segment for me, where you get this showdown between, the potentials and Buffy, and like trying to determine who should be, the leader of the pack. And it's a really good, intense moment without any fighting going on. I think the dialogue is really, really good because you see both sides. Like, it's not just, blaming Buffy, and it's not just, saying the potentials are wrong. Like, you get a good balance of like where everybody's coming from, where it's like Buffy did, like recklessly take all these potentials and go to a place where some of them got killed, others got maimed, got injured, and she didn't really put any forethought into that. She just kind of went there because they have this small luck of information. And now Buffy wants to do that again because she heard that Caleb has something of hers, and that's where it's like, look, we can't just risk going back in there again and hurting other people. And Buffy's like, no, I'm in charge. I love this kind of this back and forth dynamic because, again, you can see both their sides, and it's like, what would you do in this situation? Because you don't want to risk your army for a slither of what could be there, and it could be a trap. Caleb could be sending this to kill like most of them, which is a thing he would do. So that ending right there really puts it over the top to an S tier for me.
I actually agree. I also put this in S tier. I said I have a lot of S tiers here. So, if Carrie doesn't, and she has a really good point about why, maybe we'll bump it down to A tier or something. But, yeah, it is the power of that ending scene. But I will say it starts out with Clem is leaving town, so we get to see Clem, and he's kind of saying like,
Yeah.
"You should leave too." Like, it's not
Clem
getting
had a very funny moment at the Bronze too, episodes beforehand, where Buffy meets Clem and she's like, "Hey, can you do this for me?" He just his face becomes like
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
the magnets and the worms and stuff. So funny.
That's right. I forgot about that when she's showing them the seedier parts or whatever.
Hmm.
And like you said, with Willow and Giles going to the police, and she's kind of like, controlling their minds a little bit and like doing
Hmm.
some sort of spell on them. And the police keep saying that they're itching to hand out some justice. And I'm like, I know they're under a spell, but this feels like what like real police kind of are like a lot of the times, where they're like, I just want to hand out some justice. I don't care who gets hurt, as long as I get to do some justice at the end of the day. So that kind of like hit like a realistic note for me a little bit. And then that plays into it a little bit later. Andrew and Spike ride to get the information, and Hunter loves that scene, and I do too, because you have this just brilliant exchange when they're driving, and Andrew's just like, "Why don't we just stop and get some burgers?" And then he's like, "Well, we're this isn't a vacation. This is a mission." And he's like, "Well, I bet people who go on missions still go out to get burger or get really hungry." And he's like, or we can get one of those like blooming onions
Yeah.
like, how do they do that? And then Spike like explains, well, you gotta soak it in water and stuff like
You
that.
gotta
And then
freeze it.
Andrew's like, what Andrew's like, it's so amazing. And then Spike's like, yeah. And then there's a pause.
Tell anybody.
Pause. And then he goes, "You tell anybody about that, and I'll bite you." It's just it's so great. And then they get there, they're trying to learn the information, and Andrew's trying to play good cop, bad cop, where he's like, run is a 4-letter word, a 3-letter word.
3-letter word.
It's really funny. I kind of wish we got more Andrew Spike moments, because they're really fun together in that episode.
They're so funny together.
And then Buffy gets whooped by Caleb in the school, and then learns I guess about the weapon, right? And then, like you said, Faith takes the potentials clubbing, and then the police show up, and then they get in like a brawl with the police and stuff, and it's really crazy because they're out for justice. And then Buffy scolds them for their poor choices after they confront the police, and then they kick Buffy out of her own house. And it's just such a crazy scene. It's like you have so many different sides, and you got Buffy coming in like saying, this is not a democracy. I'm in charge here. I'm leading, and you have to follow what I say, because this is how it works. This is how we get it done. And then you get the other side, and they're just people should have like a say. Like we get to like, this is our lives. We get to like have like opinions. And who made you? Who made you the big leader? Isn't also a Slayer? And then Dawn steps up and is like, you probably should leave, Buffy, because I think we're going on a different thing. We don't want to go risk our lives right now, and with little information. And then she leaves, and then I think her name's Rona. She goes, ding dong, the witch is dead. And Dawn's like, shut your mouth. She's like in tears, like, shut your mouth. And then, she tells Faith's like, I don't know, I didn't say I should leave. And then she goes out, and then Faith is like, out there, I guess trying to like make amends, but then Buffy's like, I don't know if you wanted it or not, but their lives are in your hands now. You need to lead them. And then she walks away, and it's such a great scene. So yeah, that scene alone has me put in an S tier, to be honest, but also the Andrew Spike moment. Sorry, go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, I agree with S tier. Yeah, Hunter, I think it's fair because you also texted us about this, your thoughts on this. And I thought it was very interesting that you actually took the view that you did, that like kind of both sides have a good point. Because I think a lot of times when people first watch that episode, I know me for the longest time, for years, on every rewatch, I was like, they're in the wrong. They shouldn't kick Buffy out of her own house. That's her house. And then kind of rewatching it again, you're like, they have a good point. They all just got like horribly maimed and murdered. Like they wouldn't want to, and like everything is telling them not to go do this again. And Buffy is just not willing to like listen to anyone else. Like it's her way or the highway. And they really have no choice but to be like, you've got to go if you can't at least just listen to other people. So it is. I think it was like I really like that you from the bat, Hunter, like kind of took that interpretation that like there are both sides to this, and like both sides have really good points. So yeah, and the Spike and Andrew scenes are fantastic as well.
Yeah, but also like I'm so glad that they didn't go the route of like having the original team like siding with Buffy, and then having the potentials being on the other side, and it's like this kind of war. I like that even her friends are like, hey, Buffy, you're going too far with this. Like you have Giles, and I love when Kenny tries to talk and she's like, Willow, why are you always defending her? And she's like, I'm not. And then that's where it really hits Buffy, like, what, you're not going to defend me? Like we were like, because they're close, like that's like a sisterhood, and you're like, and that's when you realize, oh, like maybe Buffy is stepping a little too far into this, let's make it a military operation. But I also see her side, and I love that like different people can have different interpretations of this one scene, because it can have multiple. You can side with Buffy, you can side with the other people, or like me, you can side with both of them because you kind of see both of their situations. I do lean towards Buffy was going too far, and I think it really took Dawn having to, again, the evolution of Dawn having to step up and be like, you should probably leave. And it's not that she was mean, she was just like, you are causing all of us to spiral down with you. We need to take a break, and you need to just kind of leave for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. So then we go into the next episode, Touched. And while Hunter is on the side where he leans to, where he agrees more with the other people, I'm still in like the Buffy camp a lot of the times, although I do understand where everyone else is coming from. I'm just like, no, you need to listen to Buffy. Like as I've been on this ride for 7 seasons. Trust me, you just want to listen to Buffy. Okay, she has your back. But we do start this episode with Faith as kind of struggling to lead the team, but they do manage to, I think, find more information. They kidnap a bringer, and he speaks through Andrew because he doesn't have a tongue.
The magical throat slit was hilarious.
Yeah, they're kind of like, shut up, Andrew, and then like they realize that he's the bringer talking. And the bringer says, I believe that the first doesn't consider Buffy's army a threat. And then the first, as the mayor, tells Faith Buffy will try to kill her. So the first is in there really trying to sow distrust, mistrust, and doubt between all these people to get them to infight and stuff. And I think this is like a big thing that's happened with like Buffy and stuff too. Like, you guys talking about like Chloe killing herself because of the first. Like that kind of started this whole thing with, Buffy calling her an idiot and stuff, and then going into the first orchestrating all this and trying to get Buffy to doubt, or Faith to doubt Buffy, and you realize that the first is really only scared of Buffy and not really many other people. And then you also get like 4 couples in this episode have sex, or not have sex, but spend the night together. 3 couples have sex. You have Xander and Anya have sex again. Willow and Kennedy have the first lesbian like sexual encounter on American network TV.
Really? It's not Willow and Tara?
They didn't have. It's not. They didn't have like sex. It like just showed them like kind of after, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
And then
cool.
I mean, of course, it doesn't like show sex. Really?
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Obviously, it's a TV show. Like
it's television on network TV, but yeah, it's it goes a good distance, and so Buffy making waves for the LGBT. And then Faith and Robin have a one-night stand, which is interesting. And then
the joke that brings up later is like hilarious.
You'll talk about it later.
With Robin and Faith in like the last 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Buffy and Spike talk and hold each other. They've had a lot of sex already. Previous season, so now it's just time for them to talk and hold each other, which I love. I love how intimate that moment is, and I love the speech that Spike gives. I think it's like one of James Marsters' best moments in the show, is where he tells Buffy that he loves her and he doesn't like love her for him. He just has seen everything that she is and loves, her just for who she is and what she is, and knows that she is the best. And he does defend her when he comes back to the thing, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta lead. Where's Buffy?" And they're like, and Willow's like trying to dance around. We had a disagreement, and Giles is even like, I don't know. I mean, they're all just like kind of like. It's kind of awkward. Like we kind of kicked her out of the house, and he's like laughing at them, like, oh, you're her friends, okay, and you treat her like this. I see it. You're just a bunch of ungrateful, whatever. And I love that Spike defends her because really no one else is doing that. Everyone else is against Buffy right now, except for Spike, and Spike shows up, and you see how they kind of have this like relationship where they go to bat for each other. And I think that's amazing. And then he goes and he has that moment where he builds Buffy up and gives her exactly what she needs. And, he's like, you're the chosen one, Buffy. Like, you're it. And she's like, I don't want to be the chosen one. He's like, I don't want to be this good looking either. Process to bear. And then Faith leads the army into a trap where there is an explosion, and it leads to a to be continued kind of moment. But before that, we get Buffy finds the axe / scythe / glottal stop M question mark kind of weapon.
So cool.
And it's a really insane ending to an episode. I also have this at an S tier. And it's because, I don't know, I just think so many great things happen. I love the Spike defense, and I love how he builds her up with that speech. It's one of the best speeches ever. First, we get a great Xander one, then we get a great Spike one, and I think it really rules. And I think the ending of the episode is just insane and really, really interesting.
Carrie?
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to say about this one. No, that's okay. I really like it. I think the strongest part is like Spike's speech to Buffy and like them just kind of holding each other through the night. Otherwise, I feel like this is mostly kind of like build up. I'm going to actually give this an A tier, but I won't be mad if it's in the S tier because I think that that scene with Spike and Buffy is so good.
Yeah, and I'd be okay if you guys thought it was an A tier. I just put S tier because I think some of the moments in it are like some of the strongest points of the season, but I wouldn't say it's like a perfect episode. Hunter?
So originally I did have this episode at A tier, but now that we're talking about it, I may bump it up to S tier because there are so many like great moments. Like I really love the discussion that Willow and Kennedy have. Just laying in bed and they're talking about like, well, tomorrow, you may have this moment where you don't see the real me, and they're just kind of. It's a really good intimate scene where you really get this spark between the two, where it's like, okay, now I officially like them as a couple, which apparently that's a controversial take. I will take that one, but I like them as a couple, especially after this episode where, she's like, there's a line about, I don't remember the exact line, but it's like holding her down, where it's like, you'll be the balloon and I'll be your tie, or something like that. I can't exactly remember the metaphor they used.
Feels like we're singing Rent here in a second. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm. But there's something where like Willow says that I'll be, I think she said a balloon and you'll be the tie that holds me down, or something like that. I can't remember the exact line. It's been a few days since I watched this, but
yeah,
something like that where it's like I will be there to tie you down, and that actually ends up being the case in the last episode, which I like that they kind of tied that in together with Willow and Kennedy. I love just all of the lineup. The Buffy and Spike stuff I think was amazing. I think that speech that James Marsters gives is incredible, and the icing on the top is when Buffy asked him to stay. You can see his first thought isn't I'm gonna lay in bed. It's all right. I'll put my coat here and I'll sleep on the couch or the chair right next to you, showing that like he has grown so much since what happened in season 6 that like he's even scared to be in the same bed with Buffy because he's so worried about like not being able to repent for what he did. And he immediately goes on the chair, and it's Buffy who's like, no, come and hold me, like stay in the bed with me. It was her decision that led him to that, which I love that kind of, again, the tie into previous seasons. So it's an S tier for me.
Nice. One last thing for that one is that a mutual friend of Carrie and I, Meredith, one time she told me how much she loved that Spike speech so much, she typed it out from memory. And I was like, did you look that up? And she was like, nope. It's like one of the most romantic speeches she's ever heard. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is.
That's awesome.
It's so good. All right.
That's awesome.
Carrie, End of Days.
Okay, End of Days. So in this one, a bunch of Slayers have been blown up. That's really sad. Faith is recovering. But at the same time, the exciting thing is Buffy was right. Caleb was hiding something at the vineyard, and it is the scythe. They call it the scythe. I don't know anything about weapons, but from what I understand, it's not actually a scythe. It's more like a axe or something.
A scythe has like a curved, blade on the end.
But they call it the scythe, so I guess we'll call it the scythe as well. And Buffy is like beating up Caleb with this scythe, and Angel comes in and tries to help, and like I think how it goes is like Buffy's basically like, okay, just hold on a sec, like I've just got to take care of this. Like, freaking splits Caleb in two and then like goes to make out with Angel.
That
from the groin up.
Oh, okay. So they pick the next episode picks up immediately after.
Mm-hmm.
I love the scythe. That's not actually a scythe. I think it's like it's fantastic. I love what's done with it in the final episode. This one could be an S tier for me. I wouldn't be mad if it's in an S tier. I love the part where she just splits Caleb in half. I love that part so much. I love that she gets the scythe and it's like, this is powerful. This is going to change things. So I wouldn't be mad if this is S tier. I'm going to give it an A tier though, because I feel like the rest of the episode is kind of like, the rest of it's just kind of building up to the finale.
And if the splitting in half of Caleb is that important, it does happen in Chosen. Not
oh, it happens in Chosen?
Yes.
Oh, then never mind. This is definitely A tier.
Yeah, I'll let Hunter go. But can we talk about it real quick? I don't have much to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're right, because in this one,
this is A tier for me. Yeah, I was just gonna say this is A tier for me. That, like I said, at the end of the last one was an explosion. A lot of people are like injured and stuff. But it doesn't end up being like that bad. But Buffy saves the team with the scythe and kills all the like Terracon that are there. And so this thing like is a Slayer's tool, and she wields it in such a powerful way that she is able to kill a lot more Terracon now with this weapon than she was before, when it was a big struggle like just to kill one. Now she can kill multiple, which is really cool. And they research the scythe. I think this is where they see the M question mark, term for glottal stop. It's like a whole thing. And then this isn't no, we already talked about that with the Googling thing. That was earlier in the season. And then Andrew and Anya go to pick up supplies to help them recover, and they have a wheelchair fight, which is amazing. And I think at one point, it's such a great moment. And then Buffy nearly kills Caleb. You think he might be dead. And then Spike sees Buffy and Angel kissing, and then the first goes, "That bitch."
bitch.
And it's like a really interesting ending to an episode. But yeah, I don't feel like too much happens in it. I don't want to say it's a filler episode, but it's more of a transitional one. Not a lot of like big things happen except for her getting the axe and stuff like that, or the scythe. So I would say it's A tier, especially because, like Carrie said, the big Caleb destroying moment doesn't happen until the beginning of Chosen. So,
yeah, I have this one in A tier as well. I think it's a really good one, like part one of like a series finale. Like the last 2 or last 3 episodes could be like one entire like movie, pretty much, which I love. How like from one thing, like at least from one thing to the other, it's like one big movie. A lot of fun stuff happens in this one. I love Andrew and Anya just talking, like getting supplies and stuff, because you that's when you start to see, oh, like Anya does care about humans. Like she has made this evolution of like being this vengeance demon to now like she really does like humans. And Andrew even brings it up. He goes, "You like humans?" She goes, "I do not. Don't say that." It's so funny. She acts all offended and stuff, but deep down, she really does care about humans. And then, of course, great to see Angel back. I think it's really cool that they kind of bring back a lot of the major characters from past seasons. I love that, like, he just, like, punches Caleb. Buffy's like, "No, I got it. Stand back." He goes, "Oh,
this is my fight.
You're done for." He goes, "Oh, this is my favorite part." He just sits back and watches the fight happen. So funny. Yeah, A tier for me, but it's a really, really great part one to a series finale.
Definitely. All right. Well, I already talked. So Hunter, you can go ahead on to Chosen.
All right, Chosen, the final episode. Let me go ahead and bring that up again. This is where the big fight happens. The pit of the school, which I love that, like, it started in high school, at the high school, and now it's ending at the high school. I think it's a really good kind of full circle moment. Um, this is the groin to the head, like pretty much evisceration of Caleb. That's awesome. And Buffy gets the amulet, I believe, and she tells Angel because Angel thinks it's him that's supposed to have it. And then you have this kind of. I love that they don't hark on this like Spike seeing Angel kiss Buffy thing too much.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried. I was kind of worried it was going to be just like a, oh, now I'm evil because you kissed, Angel type thing. But they kind of just like, it is kind of brushed off a little bit, but you kind of understand why, because it's the final episode. Like, you have to do a lot of wrap up in this one. The end battle is great, and I love that it was Willow who was really the hero of this story, because she's the one who did the spell. And I love the line you're from Kennedy, where like she has the white hair, she goes, "You're a goddess." And you're like, "Fuck yeah, Willow, you are a goddess!" Like, she gives all the girls the Slayer powers, and this ending battle is great. It felt like the perfect conclusion to this series, because it's like you have all these like vampires and uber vamps and just so many of these like really, really great moments. And then the show literally ends with Sunnydale being like blown up, and you're just like, well, that's kind of how I like expected this to end. There's so much more I can talk about, but it's an S tier for me.
Yeah, I've chosen as easily an S tier. It's the finale of the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great freaking episode. Like I said, the whole season's kind of messy. I know, like, Carrie has like made like, talks about like, how it was like the power differential, and how at first it's really hard to kill one Turok-Han, and now they're kind of just like blowing through them and stuff. I think it's shown a lot more difficult than that. I mean, we do get some character deaths and stuff, and people are like really, really, Buffy we think is going to die at one point, and it gets really intense in that end battle. But before that, yeah, Caleb's killed in a brutal way. It's kind of awesome, and then Buffy, because he's so crazy, and then Buffy gives Spike Angel's amulet as a champion, but before that she goes, it needs to go to a champion. And you think she might not give it to him, and then she hands it to Spike. And then it's just such a special moment. And then also Spike has an angel drawing that he put in a punching bag, which is
Yeah.
I actually want to get
great.
I actually want to get a shirt with that drawing
Yeah.
on it.
Oh my, dude. Oh my god. Angel's reaction to Spike having a soul is hilarious. He goes, "Everybody has a soul."
Yeah.
He was like
He's 12.
He was like, I made it cool, but
I made it cool.
No. And then Hunter actually put this in the chat earlier, but like Giles, Xander, Amanda, and Andrew play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Before going to war, because it's like, who can sleep at a time like this or in a night like this? And then Xander's like, only the crazy ones. And then
Anya's asleep.
And then it's really cool when they finally get to the school. They mirror stuff from the first episode of like them all talking, walking away, and just kind of talking about like, so what are you going to do after this? Kind of like they're
go to the mall.
Back in school, going to the mall, just having small talk. Like
Giles is so funny because he goes, "Are we really talking about this? Oh, I'm just not here. I'm invisible, I guess."
just like they were right back in the first episode. And it's just so
it's like callbacks to the first
episode.
And it's like the same dialogue almost.
Yeah, it's same dialogue, same blocking, same kind of walking away. And then at first, the first episode, he goes, the Earth is doomed. And then here he goes, the Earth is definitely doomed.
Definitely doomed.
In a very jokey way, like, this is who we have to face it, like these stupid kids, kind of stupid American kids. And then when they walk, they kind of part ways to where their proper places are going to be, because they all have jobs to do. And then they fight, and then like Hunter was saying, Willow finally gets her like arc completed, where she's finally channeled this inner light magic. Like it's
Yeah,
always
she can
been
control the dark magic.
yeah, and so now she's finally channeled the inner like Wicca, like she's the goddess now, like Kennedy says, and it's so exhilarating. She kind of just has this big smile and goes, and like kind of falls back, like
She goes, "That was fun."
that was fun. That's right. And then they fight. Unfortunately, Anya dies, which we talked about. People make the mistake and say that oh, Joss just made Anya die. But no, apparently it was a request from Emma Caulfield. That's how she wanted her character to go out. Spike sacrifices himself, which is a really bittersweet moment because he's finally only the pure champion who wants to do good can actually do that and actually and that's how we get a lot of all the villains defeated and the sinking of Sunnydale and everything. They have to rush out of there because it's all going down. And Spike channels that inner goodness, and I just love that. And they have that little moment where she's like, "I love you." It's like, "No, you don't," but thanks for saying.
No, you don't. But thanks for saying it.
And it's just it's such a beautiful moment between them. He finally got from Buffy what he wanted, and he finally proved himself as a good man. And then Robin almost dies, but then a callback to earlier where it's like, "Surprise me." He comes back alive and goes, "Surprise."
That was the joke I wanted to talk about. When they're moving the things, the desk or whatever, and they have this weird conversation about you were an okay partner in bed. Seth goes, "No, I was the best." And she starts to take her belt off, like, "All right, let's do it right now." He goes, "No, I'll surprise you." The funniest part is Wood goes, "Well, I'm more what do you say, beautiful or cute or than you are." She goes, "No, you're not. No, you're not."
That's hilarious.
Their connection is so funny.
It's so good. It's a relationship you want to see continue, but you won't. I mean, unless it does in the comics. I'm not sure. I haven't read too much of the comics.
Apparently the comics are supposed to be actual continuation seasons.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It goes into season 8 in the comics. It's really cool. We have a lot of the issues, but I kind of stopped collecting. I might get back into it at some point. But the brilliant ending of the series with the final line that Dawn says is, Buffy, what are we gonna do now? And then it just is continually as everybody's talking, zooming in on Buffy, and then she smiles, and then it's and it's such a brilliant ending. And Carrie needs to talk now.
Yeah. This episode's absolutely perfect. I love it. I think it was a great end to the series. Everything you guys talked about. I love that. I love Willow. Kennedy calls Willow a goddess, but I love when Willow finishes the spell and she just kind of leans over, her hair is all white, and she's just like, "Nifty."
Oh yeah, it's nifty.
She's like, "That was nifty."
It's so good.
I love the hallway scene, the callback to I guess it was part 2 of the very first episode. I love how Spike sacrifices himself in the end, and I love how he and Buffy say goodbye. Just that moment between the two of them. I think this, you guys talked about most of it already. The one thing I alluded to earlier is that the Turret Con become so easy to kill by this episode. Dawn's taking them out, and she never has Slayer powers, never. There's no reason Dawn is taking out Uber Vamps when they almost killed Buffy in the first time they appeared. But anyways, there's no other way they could have done it, and it's a really cool, empowering moment. So
they do try, Anya and who's given her powers at this point. Anya and Andrew are kind of struggling. You can see them going and stuff like that. And then they I don't know, they're harnessing the power of the sun. It's really cool. But yeah, Carrie has a good point there.
Was I wrong, or did she give did Willow give every single girl on Earth the Slayer powers?
No, it's just the
Hmm.
potentials.
I forgot.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
when you do that, you have the brilliant sequence of all the girls who
Mhm.
are kind of like, beaten down. They kind of like, stand up and like over, like the one
I
girl
love
who's about to be hit by her like stepdad
our
or whatever
dad.
rises up and she's like,
Yeah,
wow. The girl like with
such a good
the baseball
moment.
Baseball
bat.
bat, yeah.
It's just
Mhm.
such a cool like girl like female empowerment kind of a
Yeah.
thing. It's
Mhm.
such a cool moment. So montage.
Yeah, I think that's it. Those are all the episodes. I really, really love this show, and I'm starting on Angel right now, so I can't wait to see all the tie-ins from that show and see what happens in Buffy, and can't wait to go back and rewatch it. And hell, I may go into the comics. I don't know. I'm gonna see if there's like comic videos online where I can watch and see what happens there. Um, but yeah, you guys have made me a fan. So
We could not be happier. This is a very special show between Carrie and I. We likely would not be together if it wasn't for Buffy, which we've talked about multiple
aw.
times, because it was a show that we just connected with from the beginning. And so
Mm.
I like to say we wouldn't be together. Our son Elliot wouldn't be born. And Hunter to it and made Hunter watch it and see Hunter fall in love from the very beginning to the very end, and just go on this journey with you. And it's just been such a pleasure to do that for over a year now, basically just talking about this. And it's taken a long time, but we love doing it. And it's sad that we're at the end. We're happy that you're watching Angel now, and I know you said you're gonna take your time and just watch that at your own pace. But if you a season or two down the line, if you're like, I don't want to talk on the show about this, maybe we'll do something. And if not, that's fine too. We have no plans of doing
What we
that.
may do is I may just end up watching it by myself and then just doing like a full like Angel spoiler talk, or we just come in and talk about just everything.
We could we could do that. The only thing is Carrie and I also will need to do a rewatch because it's been a while. But we could do that, or you could watch it all first, and then maybe we could do like a season recap or something like that. We'll figure it out. But
something like that, yeah.
I'm glad you're watching Angel. I know you said you're going to give Buffy a rewatch down the line, and I'm excited that you want to get into more Buffy stuff. And so thank you, everybody, if you've gone on this journey with us. We have only a couple of Buffy series episodes on this channel right now, but I'm working to get some of the older classic ones from season 1 to I think season 6 uploaded onto this channel, so that as classical kind of episodes, so that you can watch those as well.
So I'll download all of the episodes that we have on the other channel, and we'll just start releasing them under the Buffy rewatch playlist.
Yep. I've already done that. Downloaded them already, so I'll go ahead and start editing those soon and releasing them over time. I'll probably do it in a chronological order from season 1 to season 6. So if you like this discussion, look out for those. Look out for other things on the channel that we've done, reviews and other things. We're doing a decades bracket series that we're about to do our 1970s episode very soon coming up. We're trying to figure out what's the greatest horror movie ever made. And so we've gone from the 2020s and now we're down to the 70s. And right after we get done with each decade, we're going to do a big championship series just to see what the greatest horror movie is. And it's just
taking all the top 8 from the previous decades and putting them into one final 64. Bracket.
Yeah, so if you watch those decades episodes, if something that you love didn't win a specific episode, it's going to be in the championship, so it's going to get another chance. And we're always trying to change up our panel as well. So, we'll have different faces on the episodes and stuff. And I think we're just going to have a lot of fun going over those championship brackets. And anything else you guys want to say before we close it out?
No.
I've enjoyed doing these Buffy like rewatches and like these recaps and stuff like that, and can't wait to get into more Buffy, man. I'm definitely starting to get more into the lore and more into the fandom and things like that. So it's great to have another fandom to be part of.
I love that. And you never know. We may not do Angel right away, but we may do like another kind of show series, maybe like a shorter show or something. We've talked about things like that as well. But, we're talking, trying to figure out some other fun stuff to do. But, if we're
ready, I can't wait to get into it.
If you're ready,
all right, if you guys
close it out.
All right, if you guys did enjoy this, please hit that like button, subscribe to Welcome to Primetime, and remember, stay scared.